Today, we're looking at a green ink by KWZ Iron Gall Green 1. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so that if you are in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You can also follow me over on Instagram, and if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then inked up this Fountain Pen Revolution Himalaya with a flex nib. I wrote with it for a day. I then used it to take the notes for this video. In order to standardize some of the writing sample, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. Now, more papers are tested, and they'll show up a bit later. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in bottle form. Now, it wasn't that I chose this one special. I just wanted a green ink, and I wanted to do some tests on some iron galls. So, this is just the one that got randomly selected at that point. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X 450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X 750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 12 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 19 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any. Tomoe River. No bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 21 seconds to dry. It's a long time to wait here. Not really, but you know, I'm being nitpicky. Medium, same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 41 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and there was none. And Rhodia, with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 14 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, which is a little lighter than the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show no color variation, and there was none. I agree with Vita that we learn a lot when we do multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And on the very bottom, we see this kind of grayish tone that pushes up, and then we start to see a really, I'm gonna say it's a dark green that's very spread out. And it pushes its way up into a very nice blue. Now, the one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. That gray that's at the bottom is certainly forming a line. We still see the green pushing its way up, and we see that blue very easily, and the same as it was in the first one. This one is where I let it dry for 24 hours before I put it into water. That gray has formed a very permanent line at the bottom. The green is pushing its way up. That green, when it starts to really mix with the blue, is very nice as a tone, but then we get a very bright blue at the top. It's not as permanent as expected after 24 hours. After 72 hours, I dunked this one into water. And that green and that gray is very much on the bottom. Now you can very easily see the green that's pushing its way up, and then the very bright blue. To be honest, this has not been as permanent on here as I would have expected, given an iron gall ink. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, even though it's spread from about an extra fine to a fine, I would feel fine using this in a note-taking situation if I wanted to go back and highlight, because I haven't lost anything valuable here. It's very easy to read. Water is lifting everything but those grayish tones that we were seeing in the second chromatography. Although water's all that I use to get this out of my pen, it is not an ink that fights back on you cleaning your pens. Pen Flush did everything that water did and nothing more, and the 1/3 bleach solution has completely obliterated it off the page, which again with Iron Gall inks surprises me every time. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with a realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link the video that shows how I do my testing and calculations. KWZ's Iron Gall Green No. 1 has a viscosity of 2.06, making this a wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples. Now for the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. KWZ's Iron Gall Green No. 1 has an average dry time of 21 seconds, making it just on the edge, but normal. Instead of finding inks that look like KWZ's Iron Gall Green No. 1, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went for a nice red and chose Noodler's Cayenne. The second writing sample is done on Franklin Christoph and black and red paper. Here we're looking at Franklin Christoph paper. Now we get a ton of bleeding. We get a lot of ghosting. It's not touching the page underneath, it's just not letting you use the back of the page. And that's the medium, but not the extra fine. The extra fine did very well. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and there is none. Last up is black and red notebooks. With no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine's a lot lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the stub with no feather. It has spread. It went from a medium to about a broad. No halo, no sheen, no shade, 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show no color variation, and we didn't get any, and that is all that I have for the writing samples. So what do I think of KWZ's Iron Gall Green 1? Now, I have a bottle of this ink, but that's because I had to choose one without really knowing all of their colors or how they varied depending on their number. I wanted to do a bunch of testing on Iron Gall inks, which I do hope to have that testing done in about 6 months. This green is just a little bit too dark for me. I would have preferred it to be a little bit lighter. I do know that you can water it down a little bit to make it a little bit lighter, but I wanted to run this test on exactly as it is. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? I found a super dry, broad pen really gave me the tone that I wanted out of this ink, so that's what I need to use it in. I'm going to remind you that I'm here every day with a new ink review. Thanks for watching.